good morning, or whatever your time zone is. Very nice to be here. I want to speak briefly about what we're doing at JTV, JetBlue Technology Ventures. So in a way, JetBlue Technology Ventures is one of the major components of the airline, JetBlue's response to the change in the industry. I think we recognize that the way the world is changing is very difficult for any one organization to be able to survive and thrive by themselves. In the past, I think the approach that large organizations have taken to innovation has often been one around internal development, be it R&D, or external development, but where they primarily have built partnerships with other firms, or they've decided to buy other companies, so M&A. However, the track record that most companies have with external innovation has been mixed at best. And so the reason why JetBlue Technology Ventures was set up was an approach to try and solve that dilemma slightly differently. Rather than looking to buy innovation externally, we are looking to partner with and invest in innovation externally with a view to understanding how the world is changing. We recognize that internal innovation alone is probably not sufficient for us to remain innovative and in the forefront of our customers' minds. And so therefore, what we'd like to be able to do is to see what else is going on out there, learn from that, and then hopefully and eventually deploy that as a customer of that technology. COVID, in a way, is a fast forward button. In the sense that the things that COVID is forcing us to do now are things that we were already looking at, or things that we ought to be looking at more quickly. A good example of that within JetBlue is around sanitation and cleanliness. So, as most of us in the industry will already know, the planes are actually pretty clean. The air quality is excellent within the planes, but our customers didn't necessarily know or understand that. How do we explain to them in a visible fashion that getting on a plane is safe? So we as JTV have been helping the parent company to find solutions that are beyond the everyday things that we already do. And that almost by definition requires us to talk to startups. Bit of a radical thing for airlines to be involved in startups. To Doug's earlier point, and in general in our industry, we tend to be very conservative. And I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that being an excellent idea when it comes to the actual travel. But for many other areas in our industry, we could probably learn from what's happening out there and what's happening in other industries. And that's really very much the mission of JTV. Another area that has been fast forwarded by COVID is contactless. So one of the things that we often talk about at JTV is the seamless journey. How do we ensure that customers can do all parts of their journey in as easy a way as possible? Well, that turns out to also include basic things like being able to check in on your phone, but then perhaps to be able to navigate the entire airport experience without interacting with other machines and with not interacting with other people, to make it as easy as possible, and also to allay any fears that there could be any chance of catching something. And so again, this is technology that was already out there. Think about biometric boarding, for example, but the COVID pandemic has fast forwarded that. And, I think in summary, it's very hard for any organization to be confidently predicting what the future might hold. So it is really about being agile and the ability to be able to say, as situations start to arise, how do I react to those, and do I have the tools? And so I think it's a lesson that all of us know intuitively. I think it's one that we sometimes put off for another day, but really the goal of JTV is to be able to say, what, when that other day comes, we have a good idea of what it is that we could do in the future. Those are my remarks, Beth. I hope that was useful, and I'm looking forward to hearing what the other presenters say.